Hi there, my name is Katie Saint. This video is the Line Therapist NET Training, Natural Environment Teaching Part 1 on the art of therapy. So the first thing I want to talk about is the 80-20 ratio. In therapy, we really try to balance having the child be challenged 20% of the time and then having the child be doing something fun, preferred, or neutral 80% of the time. The reason for this ratio is we find that when this is out of balance, children start to resist therapy more and get less out of it. So during that 80% of the time where the child is having fun and doing preferred or neutral things, it's not that they're not learning, it's just that they're learning through play and they're learning through preferred activities. You can teach a child letters by jumping around in a sidewalk and using sidewalk chalk. And so the child's learning, but they're doing it through a fun way that they don't mind doing. That 20% of the time where we're challenging them and pushing them outside of their comfort zone, sometimes we might see the child upset, sometimes we might see the child resisting this, and that's okay. We want to do this because we know that the research shows us that if we don't push people outside of their comfort zone in the context of therapy, that oftentimes they won't grow as far as they could. So we do this from a place of compassion to try and help them reach their goals. So the next topic that I want to talk about is the concept of asking versus telling. So sometimes we break children's trust when we ask them to do something that's really a command. So if it's time for them to do their homework, we should not say to them, "Hey, would you like to do your homework?" We should say to them, "It's time to do your homework. Let's go to the table." So we're telling them what to do rather than asking if it's really not a choice. So just remember, anytime you're telling a child to do something, if they have to do it, word it as a command, not as a question if it's not actually a question. So the next one is how to back off without reinforcing bad behavior. So one thing we always have to keep in mind is that if a child starts having bad behavior because they don't like the task, if we just end the task, it's going to reinforce the bad behavior. But sometimes we have to pick our battles, and sometimes we have to figure out when to back off and how to back off without doing that because it's not worth the battle. So one thing you can do, say you were doing a puzzle with the child, and the child starts acting up and is upset. So pick a number of puzzle pieces or define for the child what the task is that you want them to finish. Maybe you intended to finish the entire puzzle, but if you never gave the command of we have to finish the entire thing, it would be okay for you to say, you know what, we need to do 3 more and then we can move on. But you can't back away from that command of we need to do 3 more because that would give the escape. So just define for the child what they need to do. Sometimes we need to get creative about that, and we'll pick tasks that we know the child is more likely to do so that the child is complying, and then we can reinforce the child for their compliance and redirect them in that way. So it's just really important that they don't get escape in response to problem behaviors. So the next section is about how to push if you're a really compassionate person. So for some people, it's really, really hard for them to push a child outside of their comfort zone because it just makes them feel bad. Like they want the child to be happy all the time and they just want to have fun with the child and they never want to upset the child. And that's a really sweet thing. But you need to understand that sometimes pushing a child outside of their comfort zone is the compassionate thing to do. We want to see our clients reach their full potential. And sometimes that means that they're going to be upset. Temple Grandin has given many speeches and wrote books on this topic. She talks about how when she was a kid, her mom would force her to do things she absolutely did not want to do. And if her mom would have responded with compassion in the sense of, I don't want to upset my daughter in this moment, Temple Grandin would not have been able to go to the store. She hated going to stores, but her mom forced her to do that and pushed her outside of her comfort zone. And because of that, she conquered that fear. So please know that when we do this, this is coming from a place of compassion. And even though nobody wants to upset a child, this is how we help them reach their full potential. So this is the end of video 1 for the Art of Therapy Natural Environment Teaching.